Hello everyone, I'm Lena, and this is a video to free your toes. So many of us, myself included, spent many years, maybe your whole lifetime, wearing shoes that narrow at the toe box. And naturally, our toes are made to be the widest part of our feet. If you look at a baby, that's the case for them. And for people who haven't worn shoes, that happens as well, or that's their natural state. We can reclaim the space that our toes deserve and start to mobilize our toes. And this can benefit our balance. It can benefit really the whole function of the foot. It can improve bunions or even eliminate bunions and have an effect on the whole body system. So let's begin with a little massage for the soles of the feet. I'm going to have a chair handy just so that I don't have to worry about balancing. So just stroke the ball a few times under the sole of your foot, warming things up a little bit. And all of this toe work we're going to do will also have a benefit for the muscles through the arches of your feet, helping them strengthen, helping them reestablish if they've fallen. So these exercises are really worthwhile to do regularly, especially if you're someone that has fallen arches or collapsed arches, or if you tend to be overly pronated or overly supinated for that matter. Now that you've kind of warmed up just generally through the foot, let's start to work into the toes a little bit more. We're going to just begin by placing the ball right underneath the mound of the big toe, and then squeeze the big toe and all the other toes around the ball. And then lift and try to spread all the toes. Let's do that again. Squeeze and try to spread. Now bring the ball to be kind of centered more under the middle of the ball of your foot, kind of at the base of your third toe, and do another squeeze, curl all the toe tips into the ball, and then spread. Squeeze again, and one more spread. And last time, try to center the ball under the fourth and pinky toe, and we'll squeeze and spread. Just getting some movement and some release here. Okay, do a couple strokes, just generally massaging under the sole of your foot. And then take your big toe over the side of the ball and give it a big extension, stretch. You can lean into that as much as is comfortable for you. Try to spread the big toe away from the second toe. And then switch to having the ball stretch out through the second and third toe, third and fourth toe, and finally the pinky toe and fourth toe. Good. Just give that foot a little wiggle, and let's try the other side. Start with a general massage under the sole of your foot. So in addition to doing these exercises, the most important thing you can do is stop restricting your toe space. So start to buy shoes that are foot-shaped, not narrowing at the toes. So the widest part of the shoe should be at the ball of the foot and at the toes. Might feel a little odd at first if you're switching to that look, but I say, like, who cares about the fashion if you are completely diminishing the function of your body to be able to adapt and move in the world. Plus, there's a lot of cute shoes that do accomplish the nice wide toe box. All right, so again, starting under the base of your big toe, press and curl, spread apart, curl, Really, really squeeze and spread again. More under the center of the ball, base of the third toe. Spread, then curl. All the toe tips, grip the ball and spread again. Sometimes my fingers want to help out. It's fine if you want to make a fist with your hands to show your foot what to do. And again, spread. Now go to the little toe mound and really squeeze and curl there. Spread, curl, and spread. Massage up and down a couple times. And then starting at your big toe, stretch your big toe around the ball. Move to the second and third toe. Third and fourth. And fourth and fifth. Awesome. One more little massage through your whole foot. Let that go. Make sure the ball's out of the way where you won't trip on it. And let's just do a little bit of a movement I call rocking chair. So find some bend in your knees, and we're going to start to swing the arms and bend the knees while you rock back and forth on your feet, from the balls of your feet to your heels, back and forth. You can start to speed that up a little bit. You might sit a little lower into your hips and knees. Just warming up through the muscles of your feet and through your toe joints. Okay, next time you're up on the balls of your feet, try to straighten your knees and just tiptoe around your mat in a circle. Find the edge of your mat and attempt to use it like a little tightrope, walking right along the edge, backward and forward a time or two. All right, you might use your chair again for balance here. And we're gonna do a little stretch for the top of the foot. So this will stretch from the tops of the toes all the way up the top of the foot. So bring your weight onto the toes. And the more you have your knee bent, the lesser intensity this will have. Whereas if you have your knee reaching back a little, it might feel more intense. So your toes are really curled together in this position. And notice, is your heel sickling out to the side? See if you can hug your heel more vertical. So if you drew a line from the center of your heel to your second toe, that would be a nice vertical line. And then from here, even though your toes are kind of stuck in that curled position, can you attempt to activate the muscles that would spread your toes if your toes weren't squished with pressure on them? All right, let that go. And I'll just note that if your mat is thin or you're on a really hard surface, you can always have a blanket underneath for this one. Let's try the other side now. Again, you can moderate with how much bend you have in the knee. You can also do this seated with your leg kind of to the side of a chair. Again, rather than your heel flopping out, hug it in, vertical. You'll get much more out of the stretch that way. I feel the stretch quite specifically on this foot, right down into the webbing between my first and second toes, where I have a lot of tightness from a bit of a bunion there that I'm working on rehabilitating. And then let that go, give your foot a little wiggle. All right, now we're gonna do a few more exercises for our toe kind of dexterity, if you will, and for strengthening the muscles through the arches. So find some little objects. I've got some little pebbles, and just one by one start to pick them up and move them around. You can do one foot for a little while and then we'll switch. It's okay if you have the same object, but it is a little more interesting for your feet to try different objects. Like these stones that I have are totally different shapes, and some of them are a lot easier to grip than others. You could try to grip with different toes. So maybe you're finding you're really favoring your big toe. Can you try to grip with your little toes too? And just moving them around. Okay, go ahead and switch to your other foot, passing your little objects. If you're a parent or a grandparent with a kid who likes Lego, sometimes I help my son clean up his Lego with my feet to do this exercise. Okay, letting that go, just take a moment to stand with your feet under your hips, lift and spread your toes apart, and set them back down, let them relax. Stop thinking about it too much, lift them up, and just notice what happens. Do they curl together when they lift? Do certain toes kind of go off in different directions? Most people, when they lift their toes, the big toe will head over towards the little toes because of atrophy there from big toes getting so squished by narrow shoes. I'm going to give you some exercises for that in a little bit. All right, let's do one more arch exercise with a blanket. So you just need a blanket and a slippery surface. Spread it out a little. A towel, hand towel or something would work just fine too. And we're just going to try to pleat the blanket by gripping it with your foot. So you're just grabbing some fiber and pulling it in to pleat under one foot. Just see how much you can get under that one foot. Cool. Spread out your blanket. Before you switch sides, just notice how your arches feel. And then let's switch. So your heel planted and start to grip the blanket and slide it under your arch. Creating little pleats. Good. From here, again, just take a moment to stand on your 2 feet. Give them some little wiggles, maybe bend your knees. All right. We're going to come down to sit on a chair next for a little more specific work for our toes. So here's where you're going to want to have the rubber band I mentioned in the comments handy. So I like to sit in a chair kind of near the edge so I can lean over and watch my toes as I do this. I also do this before I go to bed most nights. I do this just on the side of my bed. That works really well. And so just first start by looking down at your feet. Lift up your toes. Notice what they naturally do as you lift them and let them relax down. Notice how they naturally land. Are they squished in? Are there some spaces? Do that again, lift up. Now try to spread, find some spaces between your toes. Keep that spread and try to set them back down. Once again, lift up, spread, set them back down. Lift up, spread, set them back down. Okay, now, if the big toe is having a hard time spreading, I'm going to have you just use your fingers to pull it in a little bit in towards center, away from the little toes. Plant it down, hold it there, and lift your other toes up. And really glue down the mound of your big toe here as your other toes lift. You should feel the muscles on the underside of your arches really working. Let's hold there. Keep pushing, gluing down through your big toes. Lift all your other toes. And then let that relax. Let me zoom in as we try this a couple more times. Okay, so let's look again at the tendency here. For many people, when we lift up the big toe, it goes towards the little toes. So if there was like a laser coming out of it, that laser would point out in a V this way. So again, using your fingertips to help you, plant your big toe, spread it out and down. Keep it planted. This is gonna really require a lot of work. Plant the mounds of the big toes too, and then lift up the other toes. Good, just hold there. Just spend a little time with that tension. Keep putting weight into the mounds of the big toes. Don't let the outer edges of your feet lift up though. And then let that go. Let your feet relax for a moment. Now we're gonna try to go back and forth, lifting big toes, then little toes, and then big toes. So start by pressing your little toes down, lift your big toes up. Keep the mound here was gonna wanna lift up, keep the mounds rooted as you just lift your big toes. And then spread and put your big toes down, little toes up. Big toes up, little toes up. 2 more like that. If it's feeling really hard, just keep trying to talk to your feet. You can use your hands to show your toes what to do if you need to. Okay, tap that out a little, take a break. Now I want to show one more option for helping those big toes stay forward rather than splaying towards the little toes. So I've got a little band that's from some broccoli, kind of strong elastic. I'm gonna put it right over my big toenails and around each big toe. And then I'm gonna make sure it feels nice and tense. Or you know what, I'm even gonna double it up. I want it to really give me some resistance. Okay. So that band is helping to pull my big toes to face straight forward or towards each other a little bit. And then I'm going to lift up just the big toes, keep the mounds of the big toes down, keep the little toes down, and then let the band kind of pull the big toes back down to the ground, little toes up, and back and forth like that a few times. Big toes, little toes, back and forth. Helping the big toe learn to work while it's spread. This is an exercise I've been working on for about a year, more diligently, to work on reversing a little bit of bunion that I have left. Watch out for that tendency of the mound of the big toe to lift. Sometimes we'll want to cheat. Good. Let that go. And just take a moment to tap it out a little bit. Whew. Give your toes some little curls. You can curl your toes under. Give each foot a couple circles. And just take a moment to notice how your feet feel. Take a couple breaths. And in closing, I would just like to emphasize that all of these exercises I've shown you take time. They're worth repeating. You will see gains and changes over time. But just keep in mind, if you have had shoes on that are restricting your toes, squishing them together for a decade, 2 decades, 3 or 4 decades, that this will take time, but a lot of progress can be made even though it's incremental. So I hope that you stay consistent with your practice, and feel free to repeat this video anytime. I'll see you later.